Hi, I'm Sri from Techie Talks AI. If you're building an API, you probably did everything right. Wrote clean, fast API routes, containerized it in Docker, maybe even deployed it in the cloud. But there is one thing that most developers forget before going live: rate limiting. Sounds simple, right? The moment your API hits the real world, bots, abusive clients, or even one overly enthusiastic customer can overload your endpoints, drive your cloud bills through the roof, or take your whole app down. Hi, welcome to Techie Talks AI. I'm Sri from Shogini. On this channel, we showcase hands-on demos and insights into AI automation and no-code tools. We have created several Make.com modules to simplify no-code automation for you. Subscribe and join us on this journey into the future of technology. And here is the hard truth. Without rate limiting and tier-based access, your SaaS isn't scalable. It is just waiting to break. That is why this project matters. So here is a complete end-to-end guide on how to go about rate limiting your fast API-based endpoints. In this demo, we are going to build a production-grade fast API system with Docker Compose and Redis that handles per endpoint rate limiting, detects free versus paid users through API keys, and enforces smart usage boundaries automatically. You will see how to protect your API like a pro, add multiple service tiers for your SaaS, and even simulate OpenAI-style paywalls, all using clean, understandable Python. This isn't just another coding tutorial. It is a behind-the-scenes blueprint of how real SaaS platforms control traffic, monetize their APIs, and stay resilient under scale. By the end of this video, you won't just know how to build API, you will know how to run it like a business. Before we proceed, let's see a quick demo of how it works. So here is the endpoints documentation from FastAPI. If you have used FastAPI using in Python, you will know that browsing /docs, you will get an interface like this. So here is the FastAPI Swagger UI. Using this UI, we can test the endpoints. So we have a /health endpoint, /whoami, /public info, and /chat. So these are the endpoints that we have. And we also have /ingest. So let's check this. /health. If you click on it, it'll open, allowing us to see the parameters. And if you click on try it out and click on this execute button, you will notice that just browsing /health, we get the status return, status OK. We can also browse this from command line. We can also test this from command line, curl localhost colon 8000 /health. JQ is the JSON formatter. So see, status OK. Let's check the next one. Who am I? Let's see how it works. It is expecting API key. And response is a string. Let's try it out. Click on X. See, it says invalid or missing API key. I will add the API key here and execute. And it says a response with the API key and tier free. So it tells you your account tier. Let's also test the same thing using command line. We are passing the API key like this, freedom 123. And if you enter a wrong API key, it is showing invalid API key. So we have seen how to pass an API key to a fast API endpoint. Next thing is public info. Okay, so there is no API key required. Let's try it out. And see, this route is fully public, no limits. Try it using command line as well. No API key needed. Okay, that too works. These are tiny demos, but remember, these are production grade demonstrations. Next is the chat interface. That needs the API key. Let's click on try it out. Let me paste the API key. I'll pass the prompt, say hi. So this chat endpoint is just a demo endpoint which will just echo back whatever we are saying. Let's execute this. And see here, mocked, you said, say hi. Okay, window limit 5 execution limit. So if you execute multiple times, see, rate limit exceeded. Let's try the same thing in command line as well. Chat and -D, and we will pass our prompt. Okay, invalid or missing API key. Yeah. Let's enter the correct API key. Okay. Input should be a valid dictionary. Okay, I will enter the input here, not at the end. Okay, input. Okay, we also need to pass the content type as JSON. Yes, see, mocked, you said hi. Now let me repeat this multiple times to see the rate limit. We have a limit of 5. See, rate limit exceeded. Rate limit exceeded. Okay, so now if we wait for 60 seconds, it will allow us to access this endpoint again. Then we have ingest, another limited endpoint to show per endpoint, per tier variance. If no override exists, it uses tier defaults. So we will now get into the code. Remember, the URL to this code is available in the description. So we will go over the documentation. We have the folder structure which starts with the docker compose.yaml. That is the main file that will help us to run multiple containers. In this case, we need the API container, that is fast API container that exposes the endpoints, and the Redis database is helping us to remember and limit the rates. We also have an env.example that has these predefined environment variables. You need to copy this as .env and put your API key, but here you don't really need your OpenAI or any API key. You can just enable this, use mock OpenAI equal to 1. Endpoints will work without the valid OpenAI key. Okay, so then we have the app Docker file, which is running a Python container using Python 3.11. And it starts UVCon to launch the Fast API application. UVCon will lets us expose the application using HTTP on this port address and the IP address. Then requirement.txt file, that file has the required Python libraries. And config.py will have centralized setting. It is good practice to have such centralized settings for your API key defaults, etc. So if you want to override any endpoint, you can place it here in this env variable. And tiers.py, this converts human readable strings in .env into Python dictionaries. So if you look at the env example, we have the API keys defined like this. So we have the API keys defined here. One API key, freedom123, then pro demo 456, another API which is free, which is pro. The freedom123 is free API key, then ENT demo 789, which is enterprise. So all these have different rate limits. And here we have endpoint override, chat endpoint, free 5 limits per minute, and Pro 30, and Enterprise 180. So this way you can organize your API keys and the limits needed for these API keys. Okay. So in tiers.py, we'll read those API key lines and split them into separate API keys and its own rate limit, etc. Then we have limiter.py. This enforces a fixed window rate limit per key and endpoint and attach standard headers to responses. This is what we see when we access this. See here, limit window seconds. See here, window seconds and limit. Then OpenAI clients. This is a demo chat interface, and if mocked is set to true, it will return dummy response like an echo. So you don't need the real API key, because our focus is on rate limiting endpoints. Then we have the main.py, which is the fast API application. Here are the endpoints /health /whoami and public info and chat. Chat is rate limited per tier. Okay. And here in the depends, we say require API key. And this is the require API key function. Chat endpoint is what is enforcing the rate limit. So here await enforce rate limit is what is enforcing rate limit. And this enforce rate limit increments the Redis counter, and if it exceeds, it will throw HTTP error 429. Okay, then I am also giving in the document how you can test this yourself. So at the end, we also have an FAQ. What is rate limiting? A speed limit for API requests. It prevents abuse, lets you sell higher speed to paying customers. And why Redis? It is super fast and can be shared across many app servers. So all instances enforce the same limits. What is an API key? A secret string your client sends via X API key header. It tells the server who you are and which tier you belong to. And what are the X rate limit headers? They tell clients how many requests they have left and when the counter will reset. What is the difference between fixed window and token bucket? Fixed window is easier to understand. Counts reset every minute. Token bucket allows small bursts and is smoother under load. The token bucket is, imagine a bucket that can hold a fixed number of tokens, say 10 tokens. Every time a user makes a request, one token is removed from the bucket. Tokens represent permission to make a request. If there are no tokens left, the request is blocked. HTTP error 429 is reported back. Tokens slowly refills over time. Tokens are added back at a fixed rate, example for 1 token per second, until the bucket is full again, but never overflows. So that is it. You have just seen how a professional grade API protects itself with tier-based access, rate limiting and intelligent throttling. Your fast API isn't just functional anymore. It is scalable, secure and ready to serve real users. Most developers rush to launch and forget these invisible shields until they learn the hard way. But you are now building like a SaaS architect. Whether you are creating your first startup API or scaling to thousands of customers, remember, a great product isn't just about what users can do, it's also about what they can't abuse. If this helps you think like a pro developer, don't forget to like, share and subscribe, because in the next episode, we are taking Fast API system even further. We will add token buckets, analytics, dashboards and automated tier upgrades for your own SaaS platform. Thank you. Bye-bye. Thanks for watching. Please like, share and subscribe. Your support really helps. Have ideas or suggestions? Drop them in the comments. Let's build together. At Shogini, we offer expert NoCodeMake.com and Python AI automation consulting with ready-to-use modules to jumpstart your projects. Stay tuned and subscribe for more.